Hi guys, I hope it's going well. Today I want to focus a bit on the gut, okay? The gut is such a massive topic on its own, so I just want to focus on the basics without going into disease states or anything like that or going too much into detail with that. So let's just discuss a few basics to ensure that your gut is healthy, because the gut health is so important. It can affect your mood, it can affect your immune system, how you're feeling, your confidence, disruptions in your daily life, if you have stomach issues, so many different things. So the gut is absolutely vital to be healthy. Okay, so first off, the microbiome. So I'm sure you've heard about the gut flora. Okay, so the good bacteria, the bad, and the ugly, everything mixed together. If there is a disruption in that, it can cause a lot of issues. Like I said, with the immune system, it can potentially even affect the weight. So people that are obese, they tend to have a lower amount of good beneficial bacteria and a lack of diversity in the gut microbiota and things like that. Can also affect the mood, because there's a link between the brain and the gut. The brain-gut axis, and also most of your serotonin gets produced in the gut. Okay, so there is a gut-brain axis, and the immune system, like I mentioned. So the good bacteria, they are called probiotics, that you can get from food, specifically from fermented food. So for example, yogurt or sauerkraut, something like that. So fermented food, kimchi, for example, great, okay? Then you can also supplement a probiotic, of course. Usually the refrigerated probiotics are a bit better than the ones on the shelf, because the refrigerated probiotics are still alive, okay? And if you are on antibiotics, it is absolutely vital for you to take probiotics. So if a doctor didn't prescribe it to you, that's a bit reckless, first of all. But otherwise, you have to take initiative and you have to take ownership. Just go get yourself some probiotics. It's very, very important. Okay, and then the prebiotics is basically the food for the probiotics. Okay, so there is a distinguished difference. So the things that are difficult to digest, so for example, chicory or onions, things like that, there's a whole list of them, of the prebiotics. They then are fuel for the probiotics, and you actually need both. Okay, so both are very, very important. And then other things that disrupt the gut microbiota can be stress as well. So stress is kind of like an absolute killer for the gut, as with everything else basically in our body. You know that a bit of stress is great, we need it. But the problem, I think, with most people, we have chronic stress, we have high levels of stress, the world is in chaos. So stress is definitely a no-no for the gut, and that is a completely separate topic. You have to find ways to cope with the stress. There's a lot of techniques, and that's not going to be the focus of this video, but the stress management is very important for the gut, okay? Then, of course, how can we forget fiber? Okay, so most people will think, duh, that's the most obvious one. Yes, and like I said, these are basic tips and tricks. So very obvious, but for a reason. We get different types of fibers. We get insoluble fibers and soluble fibers. So insoluble fibers will be the hard pieces of the foods, the fruits and the vegetables and whole grains and other things. So think about an apple. So the outside of the apple will be insoluble. It's the peels, okay? It doesn't like dissolve up. But then the soluble fiber kind of like expands in water, and that would be like the inside of the apple. And you need both type of fibers. So if a person is coming from a very processed diet that's just like hamburgers and chips and whatever, and now all of a sudden they are starting to add a lot more fibrous food, they're adding a lot more vegetables and fruit, they will get digestive discomfort, most likely initially. Some people will have a lot of bloating, some people might get diarrhea, they might have cramps, things like that. And that is because the body is still getting used to all of that fiber. It's roughage, right? So it's something that's quite, it's quite a change in the digestive system. So it is advised to slowly start adding that fiber, but your gut will get used to it. It really, really will. You just have to keep at it, and you should feel a lot better for it. And soluble fiber also helps with cholesterol, for example, and things like that are like oats and butternut, beetroot. There's so many things, and that's why including whole grains and fruits and all of these things which are deemed as carbs are actually good for you in the long run. So people that are on a ketogenic diet or a very high fat diet or an extremely low carb diet, if it goes on for too long, you are missing out on a lot of potential nutrients, and then of course the fiber. If you are on a lower carb diet, you should definitely make sure that you get enough low carb vegetables then, okay? And low carb versus other diets, that's also another topic for another day. That's not what we're going to go into now. But the whole grains and the fruits and even the starchy vegetables, they can be very, very beneficial. So fiber is an absolute must for the digestive system. And then something that a lot of people don't speak about is stomach acid. So stomach acid, of course, is going to help break down your food, specifically the proteins. And if people don't have enough stomach acid, they feel very full after meal. Even if they're having a tiny bit of food, they feel very uncomfortable. They can also experience a lot of reflux, which is, in a way, people would think that's contradictory. So people associate high levels of stomach acid with reflux because it's acid, right? But the acid is a stimulus for the esophageal sphincter to stay closed. So you have your mouth, your esophagus, a little sphincter, and then the stomach. So the stomach acid is going to tell that sphincter, hey, let's stay closed. But if there's not enough stomach acid, and that might have been through an unhealthy lifestyle, or there's so many reasons, then there's no stimulus, and then that sphincter opens, and then the stomach acid goes up, and then people have a lot of reflux. So very, very interesting. And also, if you don't have enough stomach acid there, it's very easy for the bad bacteria to kind of go crazy, right? Because they're not killed off. So stomach acid is very important. If you suspect that there's something going on with that, you can do a bicarb test at home. So bicarb is a base, right? And stomach acid is an acid, duh. So you take about 1/4 teaspoon of bicarb in a little bit of water, about 100 ml or so. You take it on an empty stomach. And then, soon after you've had that, you should actually be burping, okay, ideally within the first 5 minutes, because then, those things react, and then it causes bubbles, and then you burp. If you have absolutely no reaction or a delayed reaction, potentially you have a lower stomach acid level. And then in that case, it's important to speak to your dietitian or healthcare provider as to what the next steps are. There's a lot of things you can do for that to improve those levels, which is also another topic. So if you are concerned about, am I constipated or not, or am I going to the loo too much, or anything like that, it's more about the consistency of the stool as well versus the frequency. So some people have told me before, oh no, I'm so constipated, I'm not going every day. That's not constipation, okay? So ideally you want to go within 3 days. That would be the ideal, but everybody is different. So some people go every day, some people go twice a day, some people go every second day. As long as the consistency is nice and soft and it doesn't hurt you and it's easy to pass, then you should be okay if it's within the 3 days. Vice, on the flip side, we of course don't want watery stool or anything like that, and you want to feel like you completely emptied your bowels. You shouldn't feel like you're still feeling uncomfortable, but you can't clear the bowels out. There is so much to consider with that if you're having symptoms like that as well. And then of course, if you're struggling from other digestive issues like diagnosed gut disturbances or syndromes or anything along the line, like maybe IBS, or you have Crohn's disease, or along those lines, it's very important to speak to a healthcare professional, and they will be able to guide you according to what you should be doing. There are strategies in place that you can follow to really improve symptoms, but it's very patient specific. That's why it is advised to actually chat to somebody about that. I hope that was helpful. Like I said, those are the basics, like really simple, but it is important, and you can't get away from those things. It is just something that has to be in place, and that you should just try to follow. And if you have any questions about the gut health, so again, it's a massive topic. It's not, oh, this video is already long, it's 10 minutes. But if you have specific questions, please do let me know. I'm more than willing to help you guys out, whatever you need, okay? Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.